The problem with the meme coin thing, it is a casino.
Yeah.
What is good is there are periods of time where everybody in the casino makes money, right? Which is unlike casinos because there's trends in financial markets.
And no one's taking it out, so it's paper returns.
And then a lot of this stuff goes to zero. We saw that with NFTs last cycle. We've seen it with a whole bunch of tokens, which is where you need to be very careful of latching onto a token and just keeping hold of it because some of these won't survive. You're lucky you're in ETH and not in something else, EOS, that was around in 2017, right? It's like you're stuck. So you need to be careful. Speculation does work for periods of time. It's better than actually lottery tickets and generally better than the casino, but only for periods of time. And then you will lose everything. Somebody's going to come into that casino and sweep every table, and only 5% of the people are going to be left with money.
We only have 6 years until everything changes. Raoul Pal reveals bold insights on money, tech, and our future. Let's dive in.
I think men feel hugely under pressure to be successful, to provide. There's a societal thing about what a man does and what he should do and how you measure success. That even in sports, it's very competitive to be a man, but it's also somewhat of a lonely pursuit in that respect because men aren't very good at talking about their feelings and their fears and all the bullshit you bring in your head. So some gambling is to do with that desperate need to get ahead. I need to make this work. But then it becomes somewhat of an addiction because of the adrenaline. Dopamine is a very, very powerful drug. And we search for it all day, which is what the internet's all about. It's behavioral economics. This is what they discovered is you trigger dopamine and you can make all animals do something. Famously Skinner and the rats, but humans and the internet and like buttons and anger and all of these things. So there's part of that. It's partly also male society is about betting and proving your prowess, gladiatorial. So it's a whole complicated thing of what makes men do it. But the reason, for example, in crypto, it's so male, because we're driven by that need to be the breadwinner, even though society has moved on from that. And we're seeing fantastically a rise of women in the blockchain space and a changing of that crypto bro culture that was there. If you're trying to get rich quick, I want to make loads of money by next year. I'd rather you didn't do this. I don't think that is a sensible, intelligent way of living your life. You're going to take too much risk and you're going to be susceptible to lose it all. If you said, hey, Raoul, listen, what I want in 5 years' time to have made a decent return on my money, 3, 4, 5 times my money. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. The best thing I can say to people is, listen, 2032, 2034, that is not long away, 10 years. This asset class is going to go from 2 trillion to 100 trillion, right? That is a huge return. Now, some of the coins in that space will do a multiple of that. That simple thesis is why I built Xpam, the asset management company, Exponential Age, was just to capture this trend, unfortunately, it's only for high net worth investors and institutional investors, but just let them go on that journey, get the hedge funds to take the risk and figure it out and do that. But if people just do that, give me 10 years, just give me 10 years. And if you do it 10 years and you're sensible, you'll be able to take a whole chunk of money out every few years because it's quite cyclical. It moves maybe every 4 years. And so you can take a chunk out, cash it in the lifestyle bank, and keep moving towards that goal.
Was $124,000 the true top for Bitcoin? Many are asking, but the signals suggest otherwise. Bitcoin's recent retreat has sparked concern, yet analysts argue the 124K level was just another checkpoint on the way to bigger moves. Market data shows all 30 major cycle indicators remain neutral, far from the overheating signs that typically define a peak. That means the bull cycle is still alive, with a $150,000 target very much in play. This latest pullback is flushing out short-term speculators, especially new investors who bought in late and are now selling at small losses. Meanwhile, seasoned holders with months of conviction behind them remain comfortably in profit and are holding steady. Analysts note that this shift is healthy. It's a redistribution of Bitcoin from weak hands to stronger ones, creating a firmer base for the next rally. Liquidations are also helping reset the market. Over $70 million in leveraged longs were wiped out, cooling off excessive risk and clearing the path for sustainable growth. If Bitcoin holds above its 20-week EMA, a rebound toward new highs is likely, keeping 150K well within reach.
What I do when I'm faced with something like this, when I first bought Bitcoin, I wrote the first ever Bitcoin strategy piece and made a price prediction based on what I understood about Bitcoin back in 2013, 12. It was the first ever piece written by anybody. And I said, listen, I think it's worth $1 million. And it was trading at $200. And I had some basic maths, but same kind of idea, using trends and everything else. And I said, I'm assuming I'm wrong by 90%. Still worth $100,000, and it's currently $200. It's the best trade you'll ever do in your entire life. And that proved out to be true. So let's assume that Raoul is more and I'm 50% wrong. That's a $50 trillion asset class. You get to $1 million Bitcoin. Ish, right?
Mm.
And assuming whether it's that dominant or less dominant and what happens to it. But you can see the magnitude of the returns. So that's a, 15x return in Bitcoin.
What if you're wrong? You've staked so much of your life on this. You've invested so much of your own money in it. What if you're wrong about this asset class? You couldn't have predicted Bitcoin would be so dominant 20 years ago. We couldn't have predicted even 5 years ago that AI would take hold. These things come out of nowhere and they change the paradigm. What if you're wrong?
I'm an investor, so being wrong is part of the thing. What's hard is via helping so many people at Real Vision and elsewhere, it is a weight I carry on my shoulders because I'm trying to bring as many people across the line and unfuck their future and all of these things. And I ask myself those questions and I go back to the simple thing. There is the graph of the adoption of this. If that's going to stop, we've got an issue. But then how are we going to solve problems of digital identity or contracts in a globalized world or any of these things without this technology? I can't do it, right? It's like a magic technology. The Byzantine generals problem was a real complicated problem that nobody had solved until Bitcoin.
Maybe AI creates a better blockchain. Maybe AI creates a better system.
Yes, it could do. But how long away is that before we adopt it? It adopts that technology, some quantum, cryptographic, whatever, right? Is there a need for it yet? Why are we disrupting a new industry that's not been disrupted? But yes, no investment comes without risk. Crypto comes with that risk, the risk that governments will try and shut it down, even though they've tried and it's like a cockroach because it's distributed and it's everywhere. Yeah, there's the risk that the blockchain you invest in becomes less valuable. There is the cyclicality of this asset that can fall 70%, 80% every 4 years. You have to deal with that. There's the risk that you lose your coins. There's all the risks in the world, and that's why you get paid the return. So there is no certainty in this world. I live in a probabilistic world. But if you can show me the world is going to be less digital than today, and you can show me a better way of dealing with a lot of these structural problems that we have, and you can show me that the community, the groundswell of individuals, don't forget, this is driven by individuals. We front run the institutions. The institutions weren't allowed to invest in it, but we've been able to put our money in before they did. We've created it. If I see any of those factors changing, then I'll worry about it.
Before investing in any cryptocurrency, it's important to slow down and do your homework. The crypto space moves fast, and with thousands of tokens out there, it's easy to get caught up in hype or fall into a scam. This is where ChatGPT can become an incredibly useful tool to guide your research and help you make smarter choices. Instead of trying to decode complex white papers or getting lost in technical jargon, you can use ChatGPT to simplify information and give you clear summaries about what a project really does. One of the biggest advantages is how quickly ChatGPT can break down a coin's use case, tokenomics, and even compare it with competitors. You can ask it to explain who's behind a project, whether it solves a real problem, or how it stacks up against others in the same category. This helps you cut through the noise and focus on what truly matters. If you have been watching so far, thank you so much for watching, and do not forget to subscribe to Bitcoin Zella for daily news, all for free.